The book Man's Search for Meaning is a biography that talks about Victor Frankl's experience in the Auschwitz concentration camp and the psychological breakdown of his experience. In this video, I will be talking about my favorite lessons I learned from the book and how me and you can apply it into our own lives. I make videos talking about this kind of stuff sometimes, so if you enjoy, make sure to subscribe. Lesson 1. Voluntary hardship is super important. If you suffer from insomnia or have trouble sleeping because you're staying on your phone or thinking too much, that wouldn't be a problem in Auschwitz. Those days are so long and painful that even a person who had chronic sleep issues would probably sleep fine in a concentration camp. It's the only few hours of peace you have all day for possibly the rest of your life. And you're huddled next to 10 guys with rodents and dirt everywhere, but when life is so difficult, you become grateful for those little moments of peace. Here's a quote from the book talking about his sleeping experience. 2 blankets were shared by 9 men. We could, of course, lie only on our sides, crowded and huddled against each other, which had some advantages because of the bitter cold. And yet, sleep came and brought oblivion and relief from pain for a few hours. I think this book taught me that I need to take on as much responsibility in my life as possible and make my days long and difficult because it makes you more grateful for the simple things. It almost resensitizes you to life. For example, I think lying down without my phone is pretty boring most of the time. Even when I'm in bed, I'm on phone for hours before I go to sleep. But when I was working out with my uncle who did MMA before, and he's kind of jacked, that workout was so painful that after he said I was done, I collapsed on the ground and just lied down. The exact same thing that I found so boring in my regular day-to-day life was my greatest gratitude because I was so tired and covered in sweat. I wouldn't be able to fall asleep for hours just thinking about things I did wrong. I would wake up in the middle of the night because I was too overwhelmed by my thoughts. But after working 8 hours a day, doing workouts, skateboarding, YouTube, and I changed my schedule, I sleep easy now because I'm just grateful for the fact that I'm able to sleep because I'm so tired by the end of the day. Sleeping was once a chore, but now it's a reward, and I fall asleep almost instantly now. Water doesn't taste that good in general most of the time. We all like soda or alcohol more, but after you finished a marathon, that water, those sips as it goes down your dry throat, is like the greatest thing you'll ever experience. I mean to say this not to change your life so you're now a Jew in Nazi Germany times, but make your life a little bit more strenuous and difficult, and your gratitude for the little things will increase. Lesson number 2, love trumps all. Here's a quote of him talking about his wife. I did not know whether my wife was alive, but at that moment it ceased to matter. There was no need for me to know. Nothing could touch the strength of my love, my thoughts, and the image of my beloved. Love goes far beyond the physical person of the beloved. It finds its deepest meaning in his spiritual being, his inner self. Although this world is nasty, despicable, and sparse of real purpose sometimes, people and the connections we share around us can be an essential thing that keeps us all going. Frankl was in possibly one of the worst human conditions someone could ever be in through all of times. No food, no sleep, constant labor, there were dead bodies all around him, yet the thought of the love of his wife kept him going. It gave a broken man the will to suffer one of the worst burdens of human history. It's truly powerful what we'll do for the people we love. To go through life simply for yourself is not, but to share it in joy with people close to you makes life worth it. For me, I don't have much personal will to live nowadays. There's not that many selfish just for me reasons I can come up with to keep going through the pains of life. But little things like seeing my baby cousins grow up, parents, friends, relationships, overall connection and love is what keeps me going. Frankl's perspective, given his situation, kind of solidifies that idea and how important it is to me. Lesson 3, the burden of suffering is what creates the greatest treasure. I often thought to myself, why do I have to go through all this pain for a life that will end the same regardless of my actions? All this suffering, shame, embarrassment, sadness. just to die. And it seems to me that lots of others kind of share the same sentiment. But Victor Frankl proposes that the suffering we go through is our greatest honor to become someone great. It is not a burden, but an opportunity to become someone greater than yourself. For example, his life. He recounts how many of his friends died due to starvation, illness, suicide. Given the circumstances, there was maybe a 1% chance that he would live to leave the concentration camp. But he stuck through the constant suffering and the burden of possibly one of the worst human situations and wrote a book that has stood the test of time and become an influence for millions. He turned his absolute burden into an opportunity to pass beyond himself, and we are all given the same opportunity. He recounts a story in his therapeutics work after escaping, which I think was really impactful. This one man came to his help after he had suffered from a deep depression due to the death of his wife. He could not overcome the loss of her, and he had loved her above everything else. Victor Frankl responded by asking the man what would have happened if he had died first, and the man obviously responded, "Oh, my wife would be miserable. My wife would be so depressed without me, just like I am now." Then Victor Frankl said this: "You see, such a suffering has been spared to her, and it was you who have spared her this suffering. To be sure, at the price this now you have to survive and mourn her. Because she died first, she never has to go through the pain of losing someone you love so dearly. He was able to take that burden for her, and it gave meaning to his suffering. Since I was given pain and burden, I now have the opportunity to die with strength. That's a blessing I was never able to see until I read this book." So that's what I learned from the book A Man's Search for Meaning. I hope you enjoyed this little summary thing and my personal application. If you like videos of this, please subscribe. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching.